Hello Internet, welcome back to Let's Make a Game Jolt API. In this video we're going to be doing the very most basic thing we can. We're not really going to be getting into the design of how people are going to consume things yet. What we're going to be focusing on is the stuff. So we have like the getting started parts of Game Jolt's documentation, which is pretty much just doing a basic request. Now there's some gotchas here. There's a signature that we probably are going to need to find a way to generate. And then there's a bunch of other stuff. So what we're going to be trying to do by the end of this video is get to a place where we can make one call. I think we're going to do probably time. So if we look at this get time, all this is going to return is it's going to return a constant time. And so you can use this when you're working with like a multiplayer game or you need to sync timestamps across games or something like that. What this allows you to do is just get the time zone for a specific game ID. Looks like. So it's going to give you UTC time, probably not UTC. It's going to give you just a time, and then you can do whatever you want with that. So our goal for this is going to be to get the time, and then probably convert all of this stuff into... No, for now, I don't think we'll actually do any conversion. We're just going to get this stuff back as a JSON object. In the next video, we'll probably work on parsing this out into just a C# datetime. And that'll probably be just its own video. I think that makes more sense. That way we keep things kind of separate. So let's get started. We need to go back to our URL construction stuff. So we need all of this. I'm just going to copy and paste it, and we're going to jump back to our class. And for now, I think I'm just going to call this the test invoke. We'll call it Game Jolt time proxy. Yeah, I think I like that name. So what it's doing is it's fetching the time. That's why that's there. It's working against the Game Jolt API, and it's a proxy between our service or our game and the Game Jolt service. So we can just print out a little string here like that. That's not what I wanted to do. Endpoint. It's just going to be this. And I'm just saving that here. Eventually, so all we're trying to do right now is just get this to work so we can make a call. We're going to make it pretty later, but this is going to look dirty. Nobody's going to want to use the code that we're writing in this video. It's just a stepping stone to get us to something better. So before you guys all judge me super harsh, let's go back here and grab, so we have everything up to this version 1.2. And 1.2 is the current version. It was released maybe 3 weeks ago. Then we'll need the date store, or in this case, that's going to be just our get time. So we can copy that. Private string action, I think we'll call it for now. And all that's going to be is just a get time. We aren't going to need a slash there because it's there. We'll figure out some way to actually format this so it actually works correctly. But for now, like I said, we're just getting things in place. And then all we need to do is give it a game ID, which I don't have. So we're probably going to need to go to Game Jolt and make a really quick sample game. So let me do that quick, and I'll get this game ID out of here, and then we can use that. Okay, so what we're going to need is to use our game's private key in order to use this stuff. So I've got the game created. It's going to be just, we're going to be testing against the project that I'm going to use to actually host this on Game Jolt. We need both the game ID and the private key. Now, I'm not going to show you the private key because if I did, that would be bad. So, to avoid leaking that, we're going to have to come up with some way to store secrets, which I was kind of hoping to avoid right now. But we're going to need that at least to get this far. So, let's create something. Shoot, let me go check out something quick. There's a way to save secrets in .NET, and I am totally spacing on how to do it. So I'm going to look that up and actually do it right, and then we can walk through that. I won't save the actual secret. I'll save the correct one. That wasn't what I meant to say. I'm going to save my game's actual name, and you guys can see how I do that, and then I'll actually edit out the part where I show the private key and actually add that to the secrets. And then we can just ignore that. So depending on how long that runs, that may end this video and I may have to cut it a bit. I want to keep these kind of short so we kind of keep things condensed and you can hopefully follow what I'm doing. So we'll see where that ends. But for now, research. All right, so not too fond. So there's no solution to this problem, and the reason there's no solution to this problem is, well, there's a lot of them, but we're trying to make a cross-platform application, and so using some of the built-in Windows security features in order to pull this key out aren't going to work. There's also no real way to actually secure this key if it's on the user's computer. That's not really possible. So, for testing purposes, I think the best solution is let's create a new project, and this new project is going to actually consume this API, and it's what we're going to use for testing. Even though we have this test project, the test project is for unit tests. So it's not actually going to ever call the Game Jolt API. It's going to make sure that all of our orchestration works. So let's create a new, what are we going to do? Console app? Sure, that'll work. And we'll call it World of Zero Game Jolt Console. Or should let's do demo. So this way we can have demos for different C# projects. So I'll probably make one for ASP as well, which with ASP we actually will be able to securely inject keys. Here, not so much. Anywho, I am going to create a new configuration class. Why is this the thing? All right, we'll choose the second one. We'll do application config. Yeah, that's what I meant to type. There we go. Got it. Okay. So this should look similar. We've got all of the same stuff. It's just, this is a console app. If you saw my hello C#, it should look very similar because it's the same thing. There's three things we need here. We need a public string. Yeah, I don't want to make them static. That'd be silly. So we're going to do a public string, and it's going to have the game name, game ID, sorry, and then it's going to have the, what is this? Public key. There we go. Sorry, I was blanking for longer than I should. Private key. Shut up, dog. Right. The neighbor got a dog. It barks. Anyway, we have game ID, public key, private key. Let's take our game ID and plug it in here. I'm actually going to use, there's a lambda expression for this, so I can just do that, I believe. No, I can't do that. Why not? What? What? Oh. Sorry, I don't usually use these, but it seems fitting here. So all this is it's a lambda expression that is, this is a .NET 6 feature, I want to say. But the idea is you put a lambda for, if you want a property that's just a getter, this will automatically create a get that returns whatever this is. So you can give it a variable or whatever, but you can't do a set this way. It's if you only want to get things. But it provides a, if you want to return something, like I do, and we can just hard code the values this way. So it should make things theoretically easy. Whether it does or not, we'll see. What else do I need? So you take the game ID, then you plug the private key onto the end, and then you hash that, and then you plug that on the end. So we just need the private key. We don't even need, there is no public key. I would assume that they keep it. So we're going to need this. And future me is going to remember to cut this part out, where I go and actually copy and paste it. No? Okay. He'll forget. All right. So behind this wall of that little part is our private key. It's the same, it's got the same property name. I just hid it behind a region so you can't peek. You can actually see it right there. I'm not going to hover over it because it'll show. But anyway, it's there. And that means we can access it. So to do that, let's create a new application config. And then we can just call its new function. So now we can access it. Then we just need to pass it into this. So we're going to return, we're not going to handle parsing at all, which is probably a mistake on my part, but that's fine. We're just going to return a string of the results. So now that we have that, we're going to do a string. We're going to get the time. And we're going to need the, can't pass in an app config because that is part of the demo. So we're going to pass in two strings. It's not Java, I can lowercase this. Game ID and the private key. Eventually we're going to want to take this and actually have some, we may even move the application config to here or into this project so that we can use it here. I just didn't do that yet. It's kind of, I like to take very iterative designs, and I think that kind of comes out in my videos. The code doesn't initially look that great, and then I kind of come back to it over and over again, and it slowly gets better. Did I spell string right? Yeah. Oh god. I can't even read anymore. What's going on here? Return statement is missing. Of course the return statement is missing. I haven't written it yet. Done. All right. Now we want to call this thing. So to do that, the call is going to oops. All right. Well, that lasted for all of 5 minutes. That's fine. Future me will edit that out. So going back to the time, we're going to do a get time and pass in the game ID. And that should be it. So we need a string builder. And what a string builder is it's a way of concatenating strings without having to reallocate a bunch of extra strings that you're going to throw away. So strings in both Java and C# are going to be immutable objects, which means they can't be changed once you make them. So if I do something like hello plus world, it's going to create 3 strings. It's going to create hello, world, and then hello world as 3 separate objects. It's not going to concatenate this. It's going to actually create a separate string that holds both of the originals. That's different than what a string builder does, and a string builder is going to actually append things to it. And so that allows it to kind of grow dynamically in memory without allocating a bunch of stuff that needs to be garbage collected. So if you're concatenating strings like I am, use this. If you're not, then that was useless, but that's fine. And then all we can do is append it. So we're going to append the endpoint, and then we're going to append the action, and then we're going to append, that's not how you do that, we're going to append the argument, which is going to be date time. No. What am I talking about? It's going to be the game ID. We already knew that. Okay. Game ID. Check. And capitalization and stuff, it shouldn't matter. So with HTTP, the capitalization of your functions shouldn't matter. But not everybody follows that convention, and so it's best to just do what they give you. So the final thing we need is a, what is it? Private key. No. Game ID. What am I thinking? I'm all over the place today. It's been a long week. So that's all we're going to do. And I haven't used the private key at all, so I can actually toString this, which is just going to convert that string builder object into an actual string that we can use everywhere else. And then this should output something. So if I go here and then call, what is it? The Game Jolt time proxy. And we'll just create a new one of those because we're going to need to. I'm going to add the reference. And I've been noticing that we probably aren't going to be able to use a portable project for these reasons. Doesn't work that nicely with things. Like you'd think it'd be a portable project and it'd work everywhere. But that really isn't true. It happened when I was trying to hook up the unit tests. You can't actually do that. So our unit test library can't actually test this at all. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to create a really quick replacement. All right, so there's going to be a lot of cuts in this, but anyway, we have a new World of Zero GameJolt.net package, and I think this makes a little bit more sense. Maybe we'll rename it back. But for now, I think it actually makes a little bit of sense. I'm actually going to just delete this. Bye. All right, so that's gone. And now we have this. I can delete that. Gonna be a lot of deleting in this episode too. Cool. Okay. Game Jolt time proxy is now part of GameJolt.net. Now we have this demo. I'm going to assign the references. And all you do is just right click, references, get here, and then check the box, and you're good. Done. So it actually works now. So that's good. Then we can jump here. You can see our reference got pulled in. Interesting. Oh, that's because it's higher tier. We're going to have to update this namespace. And now I should have to import it again. There we go. And that's just to get everything on the same level. The idea is, since we can't use a portable library, we're going to have separate packages for, like, .NET Core is going to be .dnx. And then if we eventually do it a portable library, there'll be like a portable or something as well. This way we can have multiple versions of this API. Hopefully there will be a world of zero.gamejolt that'll have like interfaces and stuff that they'll all share. That's kind of the common thing that you actually point to. But we'll see if that actually happens or not. That may be further down the road. Talking way too much about future plans that I haven't even figured out yet. Anywho, let's do proxy get time with our app config game ID and our app config private key. Cool. Then let's write that out. Right line, like so. And then I'm going to stick on a read line as well, after I learn how to spell. And the point here is otherwise our terminal is going to exit, and we don't want that to happen. So this should allow it to stay open. So when we run this, this is going to run the wrong thing. Yep. So when I deleted the other project, it defaulted this test project to be the default. We want to set our demo console as the default. So you just do that by setting set as startup project there. And now you'll see it's a little bolded text. So that means it's the startup project. So when I click start, it should print. There is our API request. We forgot an equal sign, but the rest of it looks good. Where was I going? Not there, here. All right, so let's add an equal sign, done. Then we need to actually generate the security key. So this is the request we're gonna make, but it's not actually good enough to do what we needed to. All we generated here is a request that will execute. We need to append the game ID or the private key to this, and then we need to run it through I'm going to probably use SHA. So we need to run it through a SHA 256 hash algorithm, get that hash, and then come back to this originally generated string and append that SHA to the end. And that's how Game Jolt is doing its security. It's kind of weird. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it. I don't know how secure it is. I imagine probably not super secure, but I'm no security expert, so I don't really know. Anywho, let's jump to that. I think we could probably use the .NET SHA function, but if we use that, I don't know if it works in Unity. So we may be grabbing our own, which there are plenty of, but no, let's not do that. All right. Yeah, let's look up the normal SHA, I guess. But first, let's store this request like that. So our request is equal to what we're actually going to be calling. Then we have our request with private key equal to the builder. No, we'll just do request plus our private key. And that will append the private key onto this. So this now has our private key. Then we need to SHA this, which SHA 256 is in System Security Cryptography. I don't actually remember how to use this, so it's probably going to end poorly, but let's try it. I don't think that works, but let's do it anyway. SHA. There. Okay. Then if we go here, I just want to make sure that's actually supported before I get too far ahead of myself. It isn't supported. SHA-1 is. And I don't know, I don't know much about that one. I know MD5 has been cracked. That's why I'm not using MD5. But I don't know about SHA-1. So one way to find out, SHA.compute hash. And I believe you pass in a byte array, and then it returns the result. That is my understanding of it. So let's do that. We can give it a stream, which I believe we can actually just use the build. No? Okay. We can use a string reader though. So we can pass in a string reader with our request with private key. Or not. Oh, do we have to do this? We might. Nope. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. It's becoming obvious. For cryptography stuff, I'm actually going to read up a little bit about this, because if you don't read up on it, then, well, you create a bunch of security holes, and I don't really want to deal with that. So we're not going to deal with that. We're going to go here and do something. All right, this seems like a suitable example. The MSDN one was not very helpful. And one of the issues with cryptography, if you start working with that, is it's going to operate on numbers. And that usually means bytes when you're doing that. So we would have to convert things to bytes. You can see that's what they're doing here. So we're going to actually grab this, come back here, and I'm going to stick in a little compute hash function. They already have it here. I'm going to make it private just because it doesn't need to be out there. This will end up going into a separate class later. For now, I'm keeping things condensed so we can just avoid jumping around. I can actually probably open this up a bit, but so we have hash, all of this. All you have to do then is none of this. We want our hash to be equal to the input stream, which is request with private key, like that. And then the hashed result is going to be our request plus our hash. And so this final thing is what we're going to be sending out to the API, I think. And so how we got there, just running back through all of that because I've been kind of jumping around a bit, is first off, all of this code. This code is going to build our initial request that we actually want to call. Everything up to this builder is going to, well, actually up to this request is going to be the actual call we want to make to Game Jolt based on this documentation. Based on this documentation. There we go. So it's going to call this with this argument and so forth. The problem is it's going to expect some authentication. And that's just to make sure people aren't screwing with your game. To do that, you need to append a private key to it. Then with that private key attached, you need to compute a hash. We're using a SHA-1 hash. Once you have that, then you take the original request you had, not the one with the private key attached. You take the original request, and then you attach the hash onto the end of that. Actually, I don't think you do that. That was probably a mistake. Believe, yeah, you attach it as a signature. So I'm just going to copy this. And we can actually, let's do a string format. And we're going to use some fun stuff, if I can remember how to do it. No, is that not how you do that? Yeah, there we go. So if you put the @ in front of your string, it does a few fun things for you. One, it makes it always print what is actually written there. And two, it gives you this fun formatting stuff. And I don't even think we need this string formatter. Oh yeah, we do. Okay. So this is another one of those new C#6 features. So we may not be able to use this later, but for what we're doing right now, it works. And so what this is going to do is it's going to say, look for the request variable in the current scope, which is this, and just plug it in here. So we're going to do the request, and then we're going to append, and well, I can just paste it. That would be way easier. So we can just paste it like that, and then we can also add on our, where was it? Hash, like that. I don't think I need these $signs. Yep. So all we're doing is we're doing the request and the signature equal to the hash. Don't drag that around. There we go. And that's sort of a fun new string formatting thing. So I would recommend checking that out if you do this a lot. And if you're working in one of the newer versions of C#. This doesn't work until very recently, so unless your project is new, you probably don't have this feature. But it's there, so I'm going to use it. Now that we have that, I'm going to return the hashed result. And this doesn't have our private key in it again, because we just have the hash of it. And hashes are, ideally they're encrypted and they're one way. If it's not one way, it's not a hash. And if it's not encrypted, then you're doing something wrong. So this should be, well, it is generated from our private key. There's no, unless the hash is broken, there's no way to get back the private key from it. So we can use this to return stuff. And then hopefully get a valid request. And then I can run that just through a web browser. And hopefully that should work. So we're going to generate our request, or we're going to throw an exception. Was not in the correct format. No. Okay. So I haven't actually played around with this formatting stuff all that often. So I'm going to revert it. And the reason for this is because I don't exactly know what I'm doing. I kind of want to, but a lot of the projects I work on, like on this channel, I work a lot with newer C# stuff. But at work and usually for a lot of the more bigger projects, they're older. And so I don't get all these fun new features. So actually, there we go. Okay. ReSharper did it for me. So the formatting looks a little bit different. You get this $sign in front, and I don't think we need the @ Yeah. So it's just the $sign. So I kind of had it right initially, but you do just the $sign, and then it will automatically format the string for you. You don't even need the string format. It just does it. So I think it was just the highlighting previously that was screwing me up. Anyway, this should work now. So I can start this and get a response. And so we have our signature here, and I can't highlight things. Why can't I highlight things? 1 sec. Okay, that should have worked. So I should have copied that. Should be able to come here, paste, run it. Can't display the page. No. I don't, no, that's not it. Huh. that wasn't the result I expected at all. Yeah. Maybe it's not live yet, or something happened. Well then. I don't know what's going on. So I was expecting to get a JSON response from this. So let's try a different browser. Firefox. How about you? I was expecting to get a JSON response from this. And then with that, we would be able to do things. But it doesn't appear to be giving back anything. So I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to try adding a formatting rule to this. So you can do format equals JSON, for example. And I'm just going to quickly hard code that in because I write bad code. I don't actually write bad code. I just do this because I kind of riff on ideas a lot and just kind of see where things are at. In this case, things are at what is going on stage. So that's what we're trying to do. Figure out what is going on. So all this should do is it should force it to be formatted in JSON. And I had to add it to the builder and not down here. Because if we added it down here, it wouldn't work. Because the signature would be wrong. The signature has to match the actual request that we're sending. So I can do that. I can run this. We should get a different signature. And then I can run it through here again. That was helpful. I can run it through here again. And we should get, yeah, the same thing. So I don't actually know what's going on. Good news is we're getting our thing generated correctly. Bad news is it doesn't actually work. So I think I'll probably end the video here. And then I'll probably get in touch with some of the people who are actually working on this API. And then from there, hopefully we can figure out what's going on. And I'll try to get, in the next video, we'll try to actually get this actually returning the time and actually probably parsing it too. Because all we need from here is just a basic web request. And that's like maybe 6 lines of code, not very much. So once we do that, then we can actually serialize the JSON out, get our actual data, and then put it somewhere. So I think that's it for now. So if you guys liked it, let me know in the comments below. And give it a like because I like those. Hopefully you do too. So yeah, I think that's it. So until next time, see you, Internet.